Day zero is the moment before company formation, when a founder decides to take the plunge, follow their dream, and commit to pursuing their vision of change. On day zero, you'll hear founders tell their story. Well, good afternoon. I'm Nathan Bays. I'm here with Aaron Martin. I have the privilege to interview him and talk to him about his background as a advisor and host of Day Zero. So, Aaron, it's great to meet you, and really look forward to Day Zero and hearing your story and the story of those you'll interview.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I just love talking to founders, and they've just got the best stories. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
It's exciting. So tell us about your journey. You've got a fascinating, background professionally and personally. So tell us about your journey, into healthcare and how did you get to your seat now?
Yeah, I actually was in healthcare a long time ago, and my first experience in healthcare was working for a private equity-backed roll-up in Nashville of home health, home infusion, DME. And, I was a youngin', so I was, 25, 26, if I recall. Worked there for a couple of years and then went to business school, went to the healthcare management program at Wharton. That is an incredible program. I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to really get a formal education in healthcare management. And then went to consulting afterwards at McKinsey and was mainly kind of focused on the pharmaceutical and medical device side, and then just took a total right turn. McKinsey has, I don't know if they're still doing this because I think it backfired in their case. But what they used to do is, like, if you're kind of focused on an industry, they would say, all right, we want you to prove that you can do this in some other industry. And, what they did is they said, Aaron, you need to go kind of work on this banking project. And this bank wants to launch an internet bank, which was one of the first internet banks. And I met my co-founder of my first company there, Angie Kim, and the rest was kind of history. And I kind of left healthcare, started that company, sold it, started another company in manufacturing software. And then I went to Amazon and was at Amazon for almost 10 years. And then one day got a call from a guy that I knew from McKinsey who was a headhunter. And he, the thing I always explain to folks is he calls me up, and he and I would talk from time to time about, other big tech opportunities I really wasn't interested in because I really enjoyed working at Amazon. And he calls me up and he's like, hey, I've got 2 words for you. Don't hang up. Nonprofit healthcare, are you still there? And I was like, what? And it was and I don't even think he knew I had a healthcare background at all. And he's like, you got to go meet this guy, Rod Hochman, and his, kind of number 2 guy, Mike Butler. They're game-changing, disruptive, healthcare senior executives. And I'm like, those words generally aren't in the same sentence, so I got to go check this out. And so went and met them and just blew my hair back, and been there for about 8 years now. So.
Yeah. How different was the shift into a not-for-profit health system, and what have you enjoyed most about that transition and working in healthcare? You started there, you went away and you came back. What have you really found rewarding about being back?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is Amazon is a metrics-driven accountability culture that just in an odd way is very mission-driven. So it sounds weird, but their mission was around, how to create the best customer experience possible, right? And I will tell you, at least for the 10 years that I was there, that was taken incredibly seriously. We were always, challenged to find a better and better way to kind of serve consumers. Moving into, health systems, I think this is, on the healthcare provider side, I don't think that there was that focus back 8 years ago on kind of a great customer experience, right? You can provide high quality care while having a bad customer experience. Those 2 things are mutually independent variables, is what I found. And so what we really started kind of focusing on is how to improve access and convenience through digital platforms, et cetera. And so, and we've been very successful, at Providence at kind of scaling that work. The thing I've learned a ton from Providence and its culture is the mission focus, and then also what I would call, kind of servant leadership. I've learned there. So the way I kind of think about, like, you like to take big things from every different experience you have, and I will tell you that, like at Amazon, I learned how to deal with technology at scale, drive accountability, drive the metrics, et cetera. Be very operationally disciplined, be very strategic in the way you think. At Providence, I've really learned a ton about, servant leadership. So how do you basically bring a team up and make sure that you're kind of clearing the barriers out of their way to make them as effective as possible? So I've learned kind of different things from two different organizations. And then I think the last thing, just to answer your question, is the mission of the organization and the mission of healthcare more generally. Like, it's one thing to get up every morning and say, how can I sell more Kindle units, or, whatever. It has a totally different meaning of now we take the same kind of rigor around weekly business reviews and monthly business reviews that we took from Amazon, but then we get to kind of look at the outcomes that are like, hey, we provided access to, this many patients and in the millions that otherwise wouldn't have had access during COVID, or, we delivered an AI bot that was able to have 7 million conversations during the COVID crisis that there's no way we could have done that with humans, So it's much more kind of satisfying, I would say, from a mission standpoint.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And, it's one of the things about healthcare, regardless of where you're at, along the kind of the continuum of healthcare, whether you're a medical professional or you're, someone like you or I that you're certainly closer than I am, but, tangential kind of, relationship to it. You feel good about the work that you're doing and the mission aspect of the work. So, shifting gears to day zero, you're a founder, and I think once you're a founder, you're always a founder, right? And so, but not only have you been a founder of a company, you also, a lot of your work at Providence, I mean, you founded, kind of the venture practice at Providence. You founded kind of the team that really led the digital transformation of that organization. And you've also kind of, since you've been at Providence, you've done de novo company formation. So you've been a founder from multiple perspectives. Given your background, that perspective, what are you most interested in and most excited about with relation to day zero and the conversations that you'll be having with founders here?
I have to tell you, I am really looking forward to learning a ton, from these incredible founders that I'm going to be interviewing, and learning about, the general kind of practice of forming a company. What are the challenges, et cetera, that you can extend to any industry, but in particular with respect to healthcare? I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. The other thing too is I think founder is a title, but it's also a state of mind. And so there's a bunch of different things that I've done in my career where I, maybe I didn't found something, but man, I had the mentality of it. And I think it has to do with grit, determination, applying a ridiculously irrational amount of energy towards a problem that that there's probably not going to be a return on it. It makes no sense what you're doing, but you just can't help yourself, right? What motivated them? What continues to motivate them? And what keeps them going through, at Amazon, what we used to call the wall, which was the first year that you're at Amazon, you went through, it was an intense place to work. And in Q4, you hit the wall because that's when we, shipped, a tremendous amount of the products that we sold. It was a very intense time. And from a founder standpoint, there's several different walls you go through the journey of the organization. And then the last thing is just reflecting on my own experience and, comparing it. I always like to know, every single time I talk to a founder, they usually have some insight into some mistake I've made in the past. And it's either an I had a V8 moment, which will date me if anybody knows what that reference is, or finally explaining to me the phenomenon that I experienced. So it's part of it too is just selfishly So that's the reason why that didn't work, or that's the reason why that did work, or that's the reason why, that leadership, aspect that I tried didn't, worked out or didn't work out. And so it's more like, it's more just like that iteration, with these founders. They're the most fascinating people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that totally resonates, with me, Aaron, and I think it's all about learning. And I have plenty of V8 moments myself, so I definitely recall the phrase, and I have a lot of those moments. But it is about learning, and I think that from my perspective as well, that's going to be super exciting. So I really look forward, to these interviews and hearing what the founders have to say, and hearing your interviews and hearing what you have to say as well. So it'll be fun, and it'll be great to partner with you on this.
Yeah, same here, Nathan. I'm really looking forward to this.